Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video for this year. So infinitely more videos than I have posted in a little while. I'm just going to apologise in advance. The sound on this might be a little bit tinny. I'm doing this through my laptop microphone. I'm just experimenting with using different ways of recording videos, so if it's a little bit tinny, then apologies for that. So I thought I'd just give everyone a rundown of my experiences of attending a recent Age of Sigmar GT event, and that was the big Bristol Brawl Winter Grand Tournament. And I thought I'd just run through what my experiences were, how it went for me as as someone competing in that, some next steps in terms of my armies, and then just some final thoughts. So, I mean, first off, just to say, the experience itself was brilliant. The event is run by a gaming group in Bristol called Sigmar's Pilgrims, who are a really nice group of lads. They have their own Discord as well, if anyone's interested, and they're in that local area. Really friendly team. Johnny and Alex, who ran the event, very welcoming and very supportive and encouraging, especially for me, because I've never been to a GT type event. I've been to one day event a year or so ago. I don't play Age of Sigmar a hell of a lot, so for me it was always a bit of a daunting experience, having kind of come to a bigger event, not so familiar with the system. Obviously know how to play, but I'm still kind of tactically trying to find my feet. And actually, it was really nice, a really nice atmosphere. Everyone was really inviting and encouraging, and a lot less stressful than I'd anticipated initially. So for my list that I took with me, I was running a Soublight Gravelords list with the Vyrkos Dynasty, and running that as a double battalion. So my general was the Vengorian Lord, using the Driven by Death Stench command trait, which is essentially he can reroll his charge, and he extends that to people within 9 or units within 9 inches of him. So that's quite helpful when he's paired up with my zombie dragon, who he runs around the board with, and so he can try and guarantee those charges coming in. Belladama, who is a 2-cast wizard who very often just sits at the back of my board in the current GT, tries to cast a spell and get me a battle tactic. My Necromancer with the one of the Vyrkos artifacts, which gives a unit a 5+ ward, which is very helpful. And Radikar, who is kind of a second hammer unit, just to kind of run in and cause a bit of disruption and upset as best he can. The rest of the list, so unit 30 Death Rattle, who sit with the Necromancer and stick around annoyingly, which is kind of their job really. And in one game during this weekend, I didn't even move the unit. They just sat there, secured me an objective, and kind of kept ticking over with some points. I've listed 3 units of direwolves there, and anyone who does the maths on this will say, well, you can't fit that in. But the Vyrkos, one of their heroic actions is to summon a unit of 10 direwolves from one of their vampire characters. So essentially, I've got 3 units in there. Well, they're only paying for 2, which is nice. 2 little units of Korsagi Night Guard with some of the models from the Cursed City box, and they are in the list essentially to sit on the flanks and score me some battle tactics. And then a zombie dragon as well, who, as I've said, he kind of pairs up with the Vengorian Lord. So how did I do over the weekend? Well, not terribly well, although actually much better than I thought I might. So I had a win, a draw, and 3 losses over the whole weekend. My biggest loss being in the mirror match against a quite different Soublight Gravelords list, and a guy who went 4-1 on the day. So not at all disappointed by that. And none of my games were whitewashes, which was a really pleasing thing for me. Quite enjoyed all my games, and actually got to play a couple of armies I've never played before, which is really nice for me. So what are my next steps in terms of my army, and what are my thoughts? So this is a good tar pit army. The army can get into other people really well. and as a result of that, you can get units stuck, or sometimes where they don't want to be. I don't know how well it's going to show in a screen because it's quite a small picture, but the bottom picture there is skeletons and direwolves charging into a blob of plague bearers, which was possibly the most tedious 4 rounds of a battle I've seen. In retrospect, if this is a situation that you are faced with, I would encourage you to roll a dice with your opponent, and then whoever wins just take D3 models off the other person, because rolling it all is painful and nothing happens. The thing I suppose I need in my army is probably a little bit better way of managing my grand strategy. So lots of the ones in the current GHB surround the use of wizards, which is great. I do have some, but I didn't want to build a list which relied on them still being alive, particularly my necromancer, who would be a locus, and a lot of the Soublight ones specifically aren't really great for my army. I thought I had a fair bit of summonable which could just die, but unfortunately it doesn't die that well. So I was relying on people killing some of my models when that didn't happen in 2 of my games. So, and I suppose it's something that your opponent can play around. So it's worth thinking about that when you're designing your lists. And I suppose what I'm thinking of at the moment is probably taking out the Korsagi Night Guard, how much I do love those models, probably replacing them with a couple of units of Fellbats, which are very similar points. A bit more mobile, so they can actually move around and get objectives and try and take some of the battle tactics which rely on movement a little bit more readily, and actually they die a lot quicker. Having a 6+ save and a 6+ ward, they will be killed off pretty quickly, and actually I've got more of a chance to try and summon them back. So that's certainly where I'll probably go with this list in the next time I play. I just need to pull together some models for that. So what are my final thoughts? I suppose this was a really good event for me. Really nice team there, nice setup at Bristol Independent Gaming, and I probably need to start to think a little bit more now. I've sort of going to events about the General's Handbook, what the missions are, and actually tweaking my list so that I have scope to try and put what I need in my list as much as well as I suppose what I want to put in my list. I suppose I'm quite a fan of kind of building a list around a theme that I have in my head, but actually I just need to accept that sometimes I need to make some adjustments to that to make sure that I'm keeping myself in the running for games. The Night Guard are probably going to drop and will get replaced with some Fellbats in due course. I might get a single unit and just compare them and see what happens there. And I probably just need to get some more games in, because actually what I found this weekend is, although I thought my strategy was relatively sound, what I haven't done is played into a lot of other armies on a regular basis. So I don't know the nuances of lots of the armies which are kind of in the fore as far as the meta is concerned. And I suppose for me, I just need to get some more games in. So really good fun. Would definitely encourage someone who hasn't done an event and maybe a little bit anxious about that to think about attending this one. And I will continue to keep people updated with any progress that I make with my Age of Sigmar adventures, and hope everyone has had a good start to this new year, and I will see you again in the next one.